Good afternoon, everybody. Okay, here we go. Good afternoon, everybody. How are you? Okay, here we go. My name is Gary Lapidus, and I'm the current president of Wyndemere. I want to thank everybody for coming out this afternoon. A terrific crowd. Thank you so much. Louder? How's that? Okay. So let me get started with a little 2-minute background in the agenda for today. Can you hear that? Okay, good. As you know, Wyndemere has a strategic plan that covers 2018 to 2023. We've implemented phase 1 of that plan, and along with a lot of other pieces of that, obviously Project 2020 was the biggest and the major part of that. And that plan terminates this year, as you know. And as such, we need a new strategic plan that will take us through 2028. Well, why? Well, you know, as they say, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. And approximately is not a number, and hope is not a strategy. And Wyndemere has become the great club that it is because it does have a strategy, it does have a plan, it does have a destination, and it operates on more than just hope. Now, members who served on that 2018 plan, and I saw a number of you in the room today, thank you for that and thank you for coming, left us a great plan. And they also left us one important piece of advice, one other important piece of advice. They said, don't do this yourself. Get some outside help. It is way too much work to do inside. It doesn't offer an outside perspective. It doesn't offer outside data. It doesn't offer benchmarks or competitive intelligence. And I know a lot of you in your professional lives have done strategic plans, and I'm sure you followed the same pattern. So the board asked this year's Strategic Planning Committee, made up of members of Wyndemere, to create an updated plan for 2023 through 2028. And the committee devoted literally hundreds of hours of work that was driven by membership engagement and feedback. They studied background material, they attended meetings, they analyzed data, they reviewed mission, vision, values, and they did all the things you would expect that would come out of a good strategic plan. And so today, you will hear the results of that extraordinary work that they have done. So Naniv Hawk, who is the chair of the Strategic Planning Committee, Ryan Cazzetto, our CEO, and Ray Cronin from Club Benchmarking, one of our outside consultants, are going to present a summary of the plan. After that, we'll go to the questions that you all submitted in advance, questions and comments that were submitted in advance. Then we'll take additional questions from the floor from folks that are in here. We're going to have a hard stop at 5 p.m. It is the first night of Passover. We want to respect that. If we don't get to all the questions, I think we will, because we did some timing yesterday. I think we will get to them. If we don't, we'll figure out a way to make sure we get everybody's question either in, answered, back to you, however we can do that. We want to make sure everybody's question gets answered. So let me stop there and ask Naniv to come up and start to present the plan.
Thank you, Gary. I'm tall, just not quite as tall as Gary. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Naniv Hawk, and Gary's a little bit in error because I've been chair of the Strategic Planning Committee for 3 years, but prior to that, I was on the strategic planning for 3 years. So I have 6 years of sitting in rooms, answering questions, delving into the future of Wyndemere. My golf handicap will certainly show that, not to mention my flattened anatomy from all the meetings. But it's been a gift to be on this committee and to lead the committee, and I thank the club for having the confidence to have me chair the committee. So I'd like to begin with our agenda. Whoops. Here we go. Agenda. Okay, so first of all, of course, we've had some introductions, but in a moment I'm going to introduce my committee. We're going to look at the strategic planning purpose, our mission, vision, and core values, our 2022 and 23 planning process. How did we do this? How did we come up with these answers? Our SWOT analysis, and this is not a task like a SWAT team. This means strategies, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Our key strategic initiatives, our facilities master plan, which we have been in the process of using, because I was on that committee as well at the beginning before we actually went into phase 1, which is the tiebreaker and the wellness facility. The survey process and its results, the estimated projects costs, which I know everybody wants to know, our phasing and financial considerations for the club and for the members, and the timeline and next steps, and then followed by the question and answer committee. I'd just like to introduce my strategic planning committee who are sitting here in the front row. Bill Inglesi, Les Bowner, Dick Carrero, Karen Dobson, Lynn Jolliffe, Cindy Lillard, Lloyd Wenland, and Rich Tillman, who is my vice chair on the committee. As well, I had Brad Green as an ex officio member of the committee because that was when the golf course master plan came into our strategy and what we were planning for. And of course, Ryan, who sits on actually all the committees, in case you didn't know. So he has his finger on the pulse of what happens in this club. As well, thank you. As well as Gary mentioned, we felt it was really important to have developmental facilitators. And we spent 6 months determining who that was going to be. We interviewed, we developed questions, we dived into what their resumes were and who would be the most appropriate. And in April 2022, we recommended that a Club Leadership Alliance would be our choice. And I'll tell you why. They are 3 independent entities that work together: Club Benchmarking, Koppler, Kubler, and Wallace, and McMahon Group. And these 3 companies have joined together to provide an excellent overview of selecting, looking at club plans. They have over 100 clubs in North America that they've worked with and developed data for, and we felt they were the best one for us to move forward with. Now, the individuals from Club Link Alliance are Ray Cronin, who's the founder and chief innovator, Jim Butler, the CEO, and Michael Moran, development of data, management, and research. That's statistics for you guys who don't know. And Frank Vane, the president of the McMahon Group. And why did we pick them? Well, I've mentioned some of the reasons, but first of all, they've had a 5-year history with Wyndemere. They have provided a look at all our facilities, our buildings, our equipment, providing us an estimation of when they deteriorate, when we need to evaluate them, and how long it takes before we replace them. They have spent 30 years focusing on strategic planning, facilities planning, key trends in the services and amenities. And McMahon Group is the leading private club consulting corporation and firm. So our strategic planning purpose, why are we doing this? First of all, we wanted to validate Windemere's vision, mission, and core values. Then we reviewed the current club industry trends. We looked at a generation of SWOT analysis, and then we considered the key strategic initiatives to be addressed in the next 5 years. And you must remember, most firms who do this evaluation for clubs recommend at least 5 years, but in fact maybe 10 years out, that you look at what's possible so that you don't be left with, oh gee, I think the building is falling apart, well, we better do something. So that's why it's a 5-year plan. And it has to be reevaluated really every year, which is what we did in the past 3 years. We needed to develop a comprehensive member survey process and how to analyze the results, and that's certainly how we used Club Leadership Alliance. And this year, every year we survey membership on their satisfaction with the club. But this year we did a survey and included aspirational values. What do you want in the future? So that was survey number 1, which we asked, what things would you like to see happen at your club, my club, our club? And then we evaluated the next phases of the club's facilities master plan, phase 2 and 3, because when we did the initial one, we always were thinking about the next steps. This is so important. You can't just stop. Well, gee, we'd have a great place, a tiebreaker, a wellness facility. What's next? You have to always be moving forward. Well, our vision, and if you look in your membership book, it states our vision and mission. Our vision is to preserve and strengthen Wyndemere as a premier private country club in Naples. 91.9% supported the vision. And then our mission is to provide current and future members, their families and guests with an exceptional experience. And you can see 94.3% of survey 1 supported the mission. So I think that we consider this as we're good with this. And our core values center around sense of community. That was reiterated many, many times ago. We are a community. We live with each other, and it's important that we get along with each other. It's one of the friendliest and kindest communities that I've ever been in. An exceptional member experience. We want our members to feel like you're really getting a value for your time, for whatever time you spend here. And then strategic governance and management. We have an excellent way of managing this club. I can't tell you how important it is to have a CEO and a board that works together and gives you a product that you all want to use. So now I'm just going to iterate through the planning process that we went through between 2022 and 2023. How did we get to where we are right now? First of all, the club, on the recommendation of the Strategic Planning Committee, hired Club Benchmarking and the McMahon Group to help us facilitate the next strategic plan. Then we updated the Capital Asset Reserve Study, as I mentioned to you in June, where they did it on site. And then we began our process in September of 2022. And our first meetings were when most people had come back, and some of my committee members are a resident here all year long, but some of us are not, like me. And we looked at our SWOT evaluation, and we talked about how this was important to us, what items should be removed, what needed to be changed. And we did that over 3 days. It's a lot of meetings with, of course, Club Leadership Alliance. Then, because of that, we then had membership feedback, or we gave the Club Leadership Alliance feedback on what we thought it should be, and they took that into their development of the focus groups. And we had 10 focus groups in January. Some of you were certainly members of this. We went through and tried to get the demographics of the club so that we were representative of men and women, permanent residents, seasonal residents, people who played golf, people who played croquet. We wanted everybody to be represented in one voice or another so that we had the input that we needed. Then we had that series of focus groups, and it was not attended by any of the board or any of the Strategic Planning Committee. It was only done by Club Leadership Alliance. Then we had the golf course master plan, which was presented to the members over a period of 4 town hall meetings, so that you had enough information to see what is anticipated or perhaps possible in the future. Not something that is concrete, but something that we think should be done, but it is, of course, up to the membership. And then we followed that up with a survey. Then survey 1 was distributed to the membership, and this was the satisfaction and aspirational survey, and that was open for a 2-week period. Following that, we actually didn't have any meetings in February, which was really nice. We could actually do other things. And that gave the Club Leadership Alliance the opportunity to evaluate the data that came from survey 1. Then we had another meeting that we got back together looking at our SWOT analysis, the outcome of survey 1, and we then anticipated what we needed to do to ask our membership what they'd like of the things that we'd identified that are important to the members. Survey 2 was distributed to the membership on March 17th with a one-week date in which we closed our information gathering, and it gave them an opportunity to get back to us within a week in order to be able to draft a strategic plan. We had specific timeline goals, and we met them all the way along. So without the help of the Club Leadership Alliance, we would not have been able to do this. Then we presented to the Board of Directors on the 28th of March what our strategic plan recommendations were. It was not voted on. It was only presented to the board, and the board felt the results of this town hall meeting, making sure that all our members actually understood what the strategic plan meant, was most important to be able to progress along. So I'd just like to tell you what our SWOT analysis was. This was made up altogether, as I mentioned, between the Strategic Planning Committee, the member focus groups, our management team, which is all sitting here today, and to identify Wyndemere's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So first of all, our strengths. It's always best to talk on a positive note at first. So our strength is a culture of kindness and inclusivity. That is probably when anybody comes to Wyndemere, sees that we are, well, the gentleman who were from Club Leadership Science says, everybody is so kind, so nice. So, and that is really our culture here in this community. Our governance model is considered to be exemplary. It is the best way to run a club. We have an excellent location. We have wonderful amenities. We have a very strong financial model. You'll hear more from Ryan later on about this, but we couldn't be in a better position for finances. And the women and in this club were heard, and we have 2 votes per membership, which we felt was really important to make certain that everybody is represented in an equal footing. Then our weaknesses. Well, we do have a dated clubhouse, and this is mentioned. Almost everybody in the focus group mentioned this. It has something to do with decor, but it has many other things. Mechanically, there are things in this clubhouse that don't work for the way our membership likes to use it at this point. We have inadequate golf practice facilities. For anybody who needs help in their short game, it's really tough. It's, you know, a cart ride away, and it's often quite busy, so that we felt that that really needed to be improved and enhanced. We have mentioned a lot of amenities here, but many of them are at capacity. And if anybody has hung out on the drop-ins for the pickleball courts, there's a lot of people trying to play pickleball, but also for those of you who don't even recognize it, croquet doesn't have anywhere near enough room for more than 8 people to play at one time. So those are things, examples, not to mention the golf course, which at times is very, very crowded. We also consider a weakness the age of our housing stock, but those of you who are new members will have noted that there are some things that you want to fix or change in your homes. Then the opportunities that exist in our community. We want to ensure the continuance of our friendly and inclusive culture. We don't want to change that at all. We want this club to be the way it is with many of our friends. We do need to improve our facility plans. We also want to focus on employee experience and recruitment. We want to incorporate technology into the golf experience, and we want to embrace consistent, continued employee training. We want to continue to foster a relationship with WOA, and we also want to continue to investigate land acquisition opportunities. We are land bound. It's hard to put anything else on this property. That's just something that we need to think about as an opportunity for us in the future. And then our threats. Well, we have lack of homes for sale. As you know, I think there's probably 2 right now. We have an extremely tight labor market. We have lack of employee housing because many of our employees have to come from other places. For example, lots of our H-1B visa employees who work in the tiebreaker have to have a place to stay. natural disasters and hurricanes and climate change. I was really insistent on this. Listen, it's April and it's 95 degrees outside. This is not usual. And if you look at all the weather changes that are happening, we have to think about that in our planning. It is a competitive club market in Naples. And we also have the noise as a threat from the highway and the airport. And we've been trying to monitor that, but I really doubt that there's very much that we're going to be able to do about that. So I want to thank you very much for our input from the Strategic Planning Committee, and I'm going to introduce now Ray Cronin from Club Leadership Alliance. Thank you.
Can you hear me? There we go. Yeah, so thank you, Nanive, and thanks to the club and the board and the committee for allowing us to work with you. You've done a lot of work with the club over the last several years, and you've done a lot of work at the club over the last several years, and it obviously is evident. It's evident in a number of ways. You know, the plan, any strategic plan in a club or any strategic plan in a business theoretically should have a broad view. Now, a lot of what we're going to talk about in the town hall today relates to the facilities and the physical assets and the services and amenities that are offered within them. You've done a significant amount of investment in the last 4 years. Everyone in this room knows that. And it was, as Gary said, it was a piece of a puzzle that went out beyond just 2023. The whole point of this effort is to extend the vision another 5 years, as Nanive said. But it's not just about the physical assets and the capital investment. The business is broader than that. And so the work that we did with the committee and the work that we do with McMahon Group and with other clubs, we try to use a framework, if you will, that expands the process beyond just the capital investment, which is often how many strategic plans end up in clubs. There's these 6 pillars that go hand in hand with the physical improvements that Ryan is going to address. But I think Frank Vane and myself and Mike Moran from Club Benchmarking, we've worked with a whole bunch of clubs, and I would say that all 3 of us, you know, came out of the process. I kind of had a sense of this from the time I've been here before, but we came out of the process realizing that the culture of this club is unique. It seems unique. It seems unique to people who deal with a lot of clubs. This concept of kindness, or the fact that you all believe you all get along, that you like the people who are here, that you're friends. The girlfriends group comes to mind in this regard. It feels different. The data would suggest it's different. And so one of the things that we discuss with the committee is doing what can be done consciously to maintain that culture, so that if 5 years from now or 8 or 10 years from now, people don't feel like the club has changed dramatically in that regard. So that's one key strategic initiative. And I do a lot of research and study, and Frank's I would consider to be the guru of strategic planning in the club industry. I'm trying to catch up with him maybe, but I do a lot of study of strategic planning. I love business, you know, just reading, and I think effective strategic plans in any business, you can't have 83 strategic initiatives because the chances of getting any of them accomplished goes to 0. On the other hand, if you have 1, you're probably a little bit short. The conventional wisdom would be, you know, 5 or 6 strategic initiatives that form a core of a business proper. We have 6 here. One of the things that came out of the focus groups, it came out of the work with the planning committee. I've heard it when we've been here before, but there is an opportunity, and Wyndemere is not alone in this regard. When there's a private club in a residential community, and there is also a property owners association, it's by definition, theoretically, they work together. They have to work together. I would say it's pretty common for most communities to have the opportunity to improve the relationship between the two organizations. We think that's a key strategic initiative for Wyndemere in the next 5 years. It doesn't happen overnight, and I'll be blunt and say I don't think a lot of communities actually get it done. But if you can get it done, it would probably behoove your community. That's 2, 3. I'm going to leave a lot of 3 to Ryan. He's going to go through it in some detail. But as you all know, the survey went beyond just the prioritization of the capital investments. It went to member satisfaction and more value, et cetera, et cetera. But the prioritization of the major capital investments in this next cycle of the strategic plan over the next 5 years is a big deal. It's a strategic issue for clubs. Clubs need to invest. And so the work that we did with the surveys, the focus groups, and in the committee, Ryan will review in terms of the suggested sequencing and prioritization of the further investments. 4, a compelling member experience. It sounds simple, the words are simple, but making it happen is not simple. It's a complicated business. Any business where you have to grow grass and feed people is probably going to be complicated, because both of those things are subject to a lot of personal viewpoints, and the growing the grass is subject to people outside this room and beyond this planet. So it's not easy to deliver a compelling member experience, but it's central to the business of being a private club. And I personally have been in over 800 clubs in the last 10 years. And Frank and Mike as well. And I just say this, and I'm not trying to patronize you, I'm just trying to state what I think is real. You've evolved the experience here pretty dramatically in a fairly short period of time. And I think it was necessary. And the data would support that. And not just the data from the survey, the meetings that we had with the 43 people, many of whom are in this room, who were in the focus groups, they said that. We didn't have to read a survey, they told us that. And I would say, if I was to characterize the data that we have, the feedback that's been garnered on the member experience, I'd characterize it this way. And I know not everyone in the room agrees with this. This is called democracy. If you get 100-0 vote, that's not democracy, that's dictatorship. We know that. Not everyone would agree with it, but I'll say this. This is the characterization of what the data said and the people in the focus group said. We love what's happened. Keep it going. Let's do it again. That was the characterization of the majority, well into the majority viewpoint. So that's a key strategic initiative in the next 5-year sequence. Keep it going. Number 5, there's 2 things that you can't have a private club without. They're necessary. If you don't have one or the other, you don't have a private club. Members and staff. And anyone who reads a newspaper or watches TV knows that in 2023, one of the biggest shifts in the employment structure in the United States was a mass exodus out of the hospitality sector. A lot of people left that sector to do other things, and it's really put pressure on clubs. It's not just clubs, it's restaurants. You've all seen it. You go into restaurants where half the tables are empty and they won't seat people because they don't have enough servers to serve all the tables. It's the belief of the facilitators, the committee, that there has to be a strategic orientation towards staff recruitment, retention, and development for a club to succeed looking forward for the next several years. Maybe the employment situation will change over time. These things are dynamic. But at the moment, focusing on the employee experience is central to all of what's on this template here. And then finally, I think it's got a lot to do with people who, and I'm looking at a few of the people who I've worked with in the past who have been president. it's got to do with your management team. I mean, our club benchmarking, I would consider our expertise is viewing things through the financial lens. And you've changed the way you approach the finances at Wyndemere, and that's a good thing. The reason that you have the experience that you have today and the reason it's evolved is because of the members and because the members are willing to support that, not just emotionally, but financially. And that's necessary. So just a data point in this regard, if you can keep doing what you've done, we know from the data that there is one metric in particular that characterizes the financial health of a club and its competitive posture in the marketplace. And that's the book value or the equity portion of the balance sheet. Okay? The equity at Wyndemere, the book value of this club from 2006 through 2018 was stuck, literally stuck, between $21 and $23 million. It varied year to year. It went up some year, down a year, but it was stuck. It looked like a EKG of someone you're putting into the morgue. It was flat. At the end of 22, so at the end of 2018, when you got rolling with your first sequence of the strategic plan, the book value of this club was $21 million. At the end of 22, last year, June 30th, the book value of this club was $32 million. It went up 50% in 5 years, after it was stuck for 16 years in one place. If you would, I think that deserves a round of applause. I kind of like, I like the stock market. I like following stocks. I do a little work on charting, technical analysis. In the charting of stocks, that would be called a breakout. And it is a breakout. And just in terms of putting that in the members' perspective, if you take the number of members who belonged in 2018 and the net worth, it was about $32,000 was the equity effectively invested by a member. Today, it's $48,000. At the end of June of last year, $48,000. It's gone up 50%. That data point, which you must continue into the future, otherwise you get stuck again. That's your choice, stuck or grow. That metric not only relates to the finances of the club, and I don't have to tell anyone in this room, you know this. It relates to the competitive posture of this club in the marketplace. In 2018, your initiation fee was 50 grand. It's $125,000 today. In 2018, and I know you're not the only residential community, there was a whole bunch of real estate inventory at this club. Today, there's none, effectively. And the amount people are paying to join or move into the club is it's 2.5 times higher. That's competitive success. So kudos. And that's a broad view of the strategic plan and the key initiatives for the next 5 years. And I'll turn it over to Ryan for the next segment.
Thanks, Ray. Well done. Everyone hear me okay? Ray, I'm going to give you your computer back here. Sorry about that. No worries. Yeah. It's always fun following Ray. He really sets the tone, and it's been a pleasure working with you guys. Thank you for all of your help with the Leadership Alliance. I think before I get started, look it over to myself. I want to go ahead. Everybody knows that guy. Who got the painting, by the way? No? I don't think enough has been said about the work and efforts that have been put into this plan by the Strategic Planning Committee members. They're all here. Mark, they can't hear me in the back. Can you turn that up? How's that, Mark? Any better? Test 1, 2. All right. I don't like standing by this microphone, but I'll do my best. So I'll just start off with, I was thanking the members of the Strategic Planning Committee. They have really done wonders. They've worked many hours. They've answered all my emails, all my desires, all my tasks. And just, again, a round of applause for all the work you've done. It's been a great process. To my management team, I think this is probably the first time you were stuck in a SWOT analysis, and I secretly put them with different managers that they're completely opposite of so we can get different personalities. They did a tremendous job. They are here today in the room, so thank you, team. Without you, nothing is possible. I appreciate it. So when I walked in today, I said, the last time I saw this many people in a town hall meeting, I think I was just hired. What I mean by that is it's obvious that everybody in this room, the members, the staff, we all care deeply about this club and the best interests of this club. And while we may not always agree on the direction, I think it speaks, wonders to how supportive our membership is and how great this club is moving forward. So today I'm going to talk about the good stuff, the facilities master plan. I'm going to touch on the focus group and the findings, review a little bit of the survey process and results. Go through the three options, also talk about why there wasn't a fourth option. Estimated project cost, that was expressed thoroughly that you wanted more details in the cost. So I'm going to go through that with you at the best level I can because we're at the preliminary conceptual design phase. And I'll talk about the design phases moving forward. We still have a lot of work to do, but I definitely want to give you everything that I have. And we'll touch on the phasing and financial considerations looking forward. I'm going to use option 2 as an example, just so you understand the process and how we would move forward, timeline and next steps, and then questions and answers. So going back in history a little bit, WCC Project 2020 had 3 initial phases. So we talked at this at length over the course of 2018 leading into construction of the first phase. So phase 1 obviously is completed. And one thing that we promised was that we would reevaluate phase 2 and phase 3 at the completion of construction on phase 1, and that's where we're here at today. Original phase 2 was the activities pavilion, a full croquet court, golf learning center. That's already changed, right? What we thought was enough with 2 additional pickleball courts has now moved to 8 based on the programming and what we're seeing in that area. We've talked about the croquet activities. Yes, I am aware that it's not the majority of members that play that sport, but I also look back and say, we have all this focus on culture and the well-being of members and kindness. When you look at the croquet group of members, the tenureship, how committed they've been to this club, and if I told you of the $4.5 million that additional croquet court is $150,000, if we evaluated our culture, don't we think that'd be something we'd take a hard look at? I think the answer would be yes on that. And then, of course, phase 2, the Golf Learning Center. This is not new. This is something that we'll continue to talk about through the presentation. And phase 3 was always main level clubhouse renovation. Everybody remembers when the previous firm attempted to move that bar, correct? If you do, then I know you knew that there were 3 phases to this plan. So where are we at today? Well, now we have a golf course master plan, as well as evaluating phase 2 and 3 of the original WCC Project 2020 plan. So both of these components file up to what is called our new facilities master plan that's going to sit within the revised strategic plan. So 2 components, golf course master plan, as well as determining the key initiatives from the original 2020 phase 2 and 3. Touch a little bit about the golf course master plan. So this really started in 2018 within the golf committee. It was put on hold during the pandemic. All of the focus was shift over to focusing on the completion of the construction for phase 1 of 2020. Continuous improvement, really we wanted to identify that throughout the golf course, the 27 holes of golf, as well as the practice facilities. Similar to why we did a facilities master plan previously, we wanted a strategic roadmap for improvements looking forward on the golf course. Obviously, we're going to focus on playability, maintenance efficiencies, aesthetics, and what we strive for every day is to create a golf experience that consistently exceeds your expectations. Come back to the focus groups a little bit. Again, 43 members participated, diverse representation of the membership. What was the purpose of these focus groups? Well, we really wanted to understand from the survey standpoint that we put together with the committee, are we asking the right questions with regards to satisfaction and aspirational desires? We talked about management, strategic planning committee. We're not included in this. That was by design. We wanted to make sure that these were open sessions where anything and everything that came up was able to be spoken. What did we ask? What do you like most? What do you like least? What new services are you looking for? What would you like to see as far as new facilities or new capital investments? Do you have any thoughts to advancements that should occur over the next 5 years? And then number 6, what is one thing the club should absolutely do in the next 5 years? So, ask and you shall receive. What did we hear? Keep it going. Ray, you touched on that. Big focus on continuous improvement. Continue to invest in the golf course and practice facilities, i.e. continue with the golf course master plan. Activity center, make it a gathering place. We heard that. If you're here during the week on a Thursday or Friday night, that place is happening, right? We got multiple members utilizing that facility for different reasons. Touched on improving cohesiveness, relationship with WOA and WCC, and of course, more pickleball courts. You see the one that I avoided there? Improve the clubhouse, right? I was the one that sent out the note as soon as I heard this and said, look, this is not an option. Because I'm looking at it from a funding perspective and from what would it really truly cost for us to make this place what it needs to be. So we paused on that, and Ray kept looking at me and saying, you should probably continue to look at this. And I said, I'll continue to look at it, but we're not doing anything with the clubhouse. And I'm sure everyone had a chance to read that memo I sent out of why we're not doing anything at the clubhouse. Survey number 1, aspirational, 821 captured responses, 67% completed. I mean, these numbers are through the roof, exactly what I expected. I mean, same reason I see everyone here in this room. Everyone is engaged with the process. Here is really what I want to focus on with this quadrant. Importance on the left here. Satisfaction over here. You can see we're fairly loaded up in the high importance, high satisfaction. Tiebreaker is close. Clubhouse, again, I'm going back to those focus groups. Low satisfaction, high importance. And then you come down here. And again, I'm not going to pick on croquet because I laughed today because that barber shop, which is now a pedicure station, which is now doing nail polish, which is now doing ladies' hair, was an office space before we put it together. And so it's become a very important amenity that is enjoyed by a decent percentage of the membership from a demographic standpoint, similar to croquet. So here's what we asked in the first survey. And we did not have the clubhouse as part of the original aspirations. Golf course improvements were number 1. I know these numbers do not add up to 100. We do have some members that said neither agree or disagree. So focusing on the agreement, you've got 73% on the golf course improvements. Golf practice facilities, the learning center was number 2, just under 70. These next projects are all one project. So yes, 63 of pickleball courts, 57 for the activities pavilion and so forth. The reason this is one project is because I have literally went back into that same space 3 times in the last 5.5 years. For once, my goal is to be proactive instead of reactive, go into this place one more time from a mobility standpoint, address all the membership desires, the capacity concerns that are obviously apparent, and do this as one project. Survey number 2, aspirational survey. So here was the change. Ryan finally listened, right? We got to put the clubhouse in. It was always a plan to measure the aspirational results in survey number 1 and include the costs. I wanted to look at it 2 ways. Number 1, tell me what you want without knowing the cost. Number 2, is that the same? Obviously that changed. So we incorporate the clubhouse. It was driven by the membership. It was driven by the focus groups, the comments we received, the 400 pages of comments in survey 1 were incorporated into this. But what I wanted to make sure is, okay, if we're going to make some improvements to the clubhouse upstairs, number 1, what do we have as far as funding? Number 2, if you've been downstairs on a Thursday night in the tiebreaker and seen us push 250 through that restaurant in less than 2 hours, I better have the same facilities up here. And we don't have that. The kitchen that was new in 2011, almost 50% of the equipment was reused, existing. I know this because I had Steph go back and did through the files and find the original bid sheet and diagram that was tied to that project. Was it expanded? Yes. Was it done by a professional designer? No. Is it anybody's fault? No. But that's the reality. So if someone says we have a new kitchen back there, which I have heard, not really. Right now, we're getting by based on the talent that we have in the kitchen, as well as the front of the house management team, and doing our best to make it work. Long-term plan for the clubhouse as a whole, the reason the $6 million improvement plan was put together, number one, over the next 5 years, we're going to spend $2 to $3 million in asset replacements anyways. That's driven by the results of our asset reserve study. So we've got $60 million in gross assets. We throw all that in the reserve study. We look over the next 20 years, anything over $2,500, estimated life of 2 years, we put on a replacement schedule. Basically, that makes sure that we're doing what we need to do to keep the facilities fresh. We push a lot of things back. We pull some things up forward. It all depends on where our process ends up at the end of the budget process. So when we bring the clubhouse into the discussion, this is a bridge the gap. We're going to spend $2 to $3 million either way in the next 5 years. Let's take $4 million of the $6 million, make a project out of it, utilize the best interior design team available in the state of Florida, and then upgrade the kitchen as part of that and bridge the gap to 2033 when the loan is paid off on phase 1. Does that make sense? That's why I try to continue to reiterate, look, we're not going to make any structural changes. We're not going to wrap the patio. We're not going to move the bar. We're not going to fix the pillars out here in the front entrance that everyone likes to hit and we paint every month. We're not touching that, right? Oh, it happens. So the 3 options. Someone asked, well, who came up with these 3 options? Well, that's our job as a committee. We've got all the results, the comments, the surveys, the desires. Our job was to analyze that data and come up with the best 3 options to address immediate member concerns. 2 of them, 0 assessment. The 3rd one included an assessment. The 3rd one was centered around acceleration. The only reason we put the 3rd option out there and added the assessment portion was because it was asked for by the membership in the survey comments. It was not driven by the board. They had no idea. I knew, number one, it wouldn't go through, but I am one that is going to listen to the membership, and if they say, hey, what would it cost us from a financial perspective to do everything that you've presented as quickly as possible, then I'm going to put that work together. And that's what we did. So that number 3 option, as far as what would it take and as an assessment, that was asked by the general membership. It was not driven by management or the board level. So option 1 was continue with the current plan, does not address the clubhouse. You've all seen this. Option 2, we pulled the clubhouse in, pulled that $6 million project in. We could do that in 2025 because we got to catch up on cash flow. And I'll talk about cash flow at the end here. And I'll go back. So when we pull that clubhouse in, something's got to give, right? From a cash flow perspective, we got to push the golf course out. It just doesn't work. We have 2 sources of capital cash. Your annual capital dues, which for the majority go to for asset replacement through the reserve study, and then we have ICA, right? Initial capital assessment based on new members. That's all we're working with. Phase 3, we talked about this. Let's do everything as quickly as possible. Was not approved, was supported by about 16% of the membership. Accelerated the clubhouse into April of 24, and then we brought the golf course back to April of 25. Why no option 4? And I think that's a valid question, and I could have, looking back, presented that better. But one thing I will do, as long as I'm in this position, is focus on what's best for this club moving forward. Option 4 of do nothing, this club takes a step backwards. We sit, we wait, everyone else catches up, the assets continue to decline, and we do not address any concerns or desires that the memberships have told us through Survey 1 and Survey 2. More importantly, do nothing is not part of the vision, mission, or core values. Nowhere in that mission statement of providing exceptional services and amenities does do nothing go in that. And the core value, commitment to continuous improvement, key word in there is continuous improvement. That's why an option 4 was not considered. Estimated project costs. Here is the design construction phase. This is how it works. We've been through this with phase one of Project 2020. Conceptual design, I'd say we're about 40% through conceptual design. The reason I point that out is you see how much more work has to be done. We are still in the process of determining the needs, preliminary programming, ROM, rough order of magnitude, project budgets. Really at the beginning of the process. That's why it's been critical this entire season that we get as much input from the membership and make sure this plan is driven by the membership's overall desires, because we've got a ton of work to do over the course of the next 6 months to get us into a position of schematic design. We'll continue to evaluate programming, sketches, plans, renderings, update costs, gets us to design development. We refine the project, we're really getting close, we're confirming the programming, we're getting really good on the budget. And then, of course, construction docs, where our details are done, the guaranteed maximum price is set, and we're ready to go to work.
Is this for the clubhouse?
This is for anything. Yeah. So 1 through 4, we're at like 0.5 on 1. A lot of work to go. So when I thought about how am I going to present a little more detail on the itemized costs of the projects, I really focus on hard costs and soft costs. For someone that's not in construction, we talk about hard costs, basically the physical actions and material needed for the project, right? Soft costs, anything that's not direct construction costs, majority of that's going to be in the FF&A, furniture, fixtures, and accessories, the design fees, project management fees, etc. So we'll start with the activity center. Total budget of $4.5 million is estimated, split between hard costs of just under 3.2, soft costs, let's call it 956. Let's focus on the hard costs, the 3.1. So for 8 pickleball courts, 4 bocce courts, full croquet court, outdoor bar, covered seating, member restroom, storage, and dedicated employee space. Why are we spending $4.5 million? In order to do this, we've got to go back into the space and basically redesign the entire area with the exception of the existing pickleball courts to get all of this in the available land. That's why. We can't continue to kind of carve out and move around and add here or there. We've got to redesign the entire master plan for this area. Fortunately, we're able to save the pickleball courts. So the majority is going to be in the bar, pavilion, bar equipment. So that pavilion is 1,200 square feet. Covered seating. Covered seating. This is a non-HVAC building. Indoor, outdoor. Basically going to have a bar inside, roll-down shutters, bar equipment of just over $1 million. The structure itself is $600,000. Add another $200,000 for the bar itself. Then you get into the equipment, accessories, etc. Restrooms, storage, office building. I am very aware that we have restrooms in the men's and ladies' locker rooms. This is not Ryan says we need another bathroom. The membership has asked for bathrooms out there. They've asked for it. That's why it's there. You can say no, I'm just telling you that's where it came from the comments. So if you're going to have the bathrooms, plenty of time for questions afterwards, I promise. We've now created an area where we have an opportunity to add an employee office because there needs to be someone dedicated over there, given the activities. Right now, the only area we have is a racket sports shop, so Ishan's got to run back and forth, or Garrett, or Laura, so we're going to carve out a space for them there, and then some small storage space for all of the equipment that goes into the sports that are over here. Soft costs, again, design, engineering, permits, FF&A, estimated at $630 at this time, and then we have general conditions on a monthly basis as well as management. So the total of the $4.5 million is split between the hard costs of 3.1 and the soft costs of just under $1 million. Golf Learning Center. Kyle, come on up here and talk to me about the scope of the Golf Learning Center. So before Kyle gets into that, I'll run through the hard costs. We're looking at a building of about 3,000 square feet. New build right now is $500 per square feet based on market conditions. Utility, site prep, landscaping, $300,000. A lot of dollars in the soft costs. That's why I brought Kyle up here. So of that 791, the majority of that is the technology that you're going to have available for you to use as a member. So why don't you talk a little bit about that technology?
Yeah, well, thank you all for coming out here. You know, when we look at that big number, 791, we're looking at about 561 just in technology. We're talking about the TrackMan 4 flight simulator opportunity. We're talking about full simulators in there. We're talking about tilted performing putting greens. We're talking everything from your swing to your putt. Going to be able to see it in slow motion next to, you know, maybe a previous swing. You can track a lot of your progress. But really, when we look at the golf simulators, a spot that we can actually do club repair, and then a really big social atmosphere. So the technology that we can put in there is the best of the best. We're looking at the back range itself right now with an opportunity to have full launch monitor capability for anybody who's standing on grass on the back range hitting golf balls. So really, what does that mean? Just like you watch on TV, we're all going to watch the Masters over the weekend, right? We see that lovely shot tracer that goes out there. It's really nice to watch on TV. This technology that we would have on the back range is exactly the same. It's a radar system. At any given time you're on the back range, you want to work on your game, you want to know how far you're hitting your 8-iron, you pull out your phone or a tablet, and it's going to show you exactly from any spot on the range, grass stand as it sits right now, when we hit that shot, you're going to be able to see exactly shot shape, launch angle, ball speed, how far it went, and what direction it went. Amazing, right? The 3 bays that we were looking at for this center will all have the TrackMan TM4 launch monitors in there, which are fully capable to do golf simulation. You want to play any golf course in the world, we've got it. A lot of fun, right? And Wyndemere will be on there. Who needs to practice white number 4 over the water? We can do all of that. This tilting putting green with the opportunity to see your stroke standing right on it. I need to work on my left to right putts. Boom, tilts right there. You can work on your putts right there. It's amazing the technology that we can really get into when you're looking at the golf game itself. And this right here is something that would be absolutely fantastic. Looking at club fitting and other things of that, we usually do right now here at the club $140,000 or so in hard goods sales. We've known from these types of facilities be put in other places in town, we can expect year one to almost double hard goods sales with an actual fitting department. So we make $42,000 in gross profit, we double that, we make 84, and we continue on going down the line. So this right here is a nice opportunity to give you members a great experience, along with kind of getting some money that's interjected back into the club as well.
So Kyle, you talked about the increase right off the bat in the gross profit from hard goods. Talk about the staffing model over that and some estimated costs, because we've ran those numbers.
Yeah, so when we look at this facility right here, 3 bays, we're going to need a sole-focused, independent person that's going to be out there. So we're looking at a director of instruction. Cost for that is relatively low compared to other big management positions, because they do get a lot of lesson revenue. And then also a full-time club fitter. Somebody who is here that has every brand that we could possibly offer, PXG, Zexio, Callaway, Titleist, TaylorMade, Callaway, everybody. We'd have every product that you could want, have it at your disposal. You can try them all right there. It gives you the greatest opportunity to figure out what fits best for you. We look at total maybe payroll dollars for this, $125,000 for those 2 positions.
Thank you. Don't go too far.
Hold on.
So I bring Kyle up here, and Aaron and Brad Green are behind me. They've really worked hard on these portions of the project and these options as part of the golf course master plan. And I can't say it any better, so I pass it over to these gentlemen. So we look at the practice facilities. I'll walk through the numbers and then go ahead and talk through the scope on this, Kyle. $2.75 million for the driving range, short game area improvements, putting green improvements. We look at this a little bit differently because it's not your typical construction. We're looking at site prep and earthwork, vast majority, $620,000, drainage improvements of $340,000, tee green bunker construction of $665,000, and then grassing, irrigation, and landscape of $875,000. So the total 2.5 million. We carry a contingency at this point. It's very early of 10%. Gets us at 2.75 million estimated. And Kyle, as you walk through the scope, talk about the par 3 executive 9-hole golf course that we're not going to put it.
All right. So looking at this project right here, this is all an ad for here at the club. Right now we are, of course, locked into what we would call maybe plus or minus 5 acres of land right here. How can we really look at this and maximize its actual potential? Right? We need the length of this driving range, and for it to be said, well, not our members can hit it that far. They can, and future members can, and our families can, and our guests can, and it's dangerous. We don't want anything to happen where the front of our range at 220, someone unfortunately gets hit with a golf ball. It happens weekly where we have golf balls going to the back there. Wanting to make sure that we make it safe for everybody, and also with this 5 acres, it's highly underutilized. A lot of clubs down here have aqua ranges because they don't have any place else to put a driving range. Very fortunate for us. Let's utilize it. So, executive par 3 golf course is not the correct term. Me giving you 9 more holes of golf is not the correct term. This is just an added opportunity. When we talk about how much time and effort and money is going to go into this, it's minuscule compared to the whole scope. Somebody out there working on the 9 target greens that are going to be redefined, maybe an hour or 2 extra on one day to flatten off some surfaces to give us an opportunity to program this from time to time to potentially use this as a wonderful social gathering opportunity. If you're going to hit golf balls on Friday morning before you play golf, I'm not going to shut down the driving range and have anybody out in the middle of it. It's not going to happen. When we look at this opportunity, an ad, what is it going to cost us? Next to nothing. Not going to give Aaron any more headaches, not going to give me any more headaches, going to give you another opportunity potentially to have a chance to go out and do something fun and exciting. And if it's just an ad, if we're not taking anything away, we need to be innovative. We need to look at these things. What's going on currently right now in Augusta? The par 3 golf course at Augusta, the contest. Ladies, Karen, would it be nice for the Ladies Classic, that opening night, to have a par 3 contest before the actual event? Men's Livingston Cup, would it be nice to have a tradition to have a par 3 golf course contest before? These are just things we look at to add amenities, give you an opportunity. Highly underutilized space. Can we be innovative? Is there something that we can do from time to time? You're not going to have tee times to play the par 3 golf course. It's not what we're looking at. This is a program. This is later in the evenings. These are already opportunities where people are not going to be out there. Trust in us that we'll program it correctly. Nobody's going to get hit. Nobody's going to get hurt. It's going to be a lot of fun. So it's not an executive par 3 golf course. I'm not giving you 9 more holes. It's an opportunity to be innovative on a large acreage opportunity here at the club to program it properly and add an amenity.
Well done. Thank you, sir. Awesome. Again, thanks, Aaron, Kyle, Brad, the Golf Course Master Planning Committee. Tremendous work in progress has been done. Jumping into the clubhouse, refresh, and kitchen, we've allocated $6 million. We talked about this briefly. 3 components here: clubhouse lobby, Wyndemere room, dining room, and lounge, as well as the bathrooms. It's an interior refresh of the entire main level. This level right here includes carpet, paint, flooring, lighting, bathrooms, all the furniture, fixtures, accessories, professional kitchen design, and new equipment. So you're looking at these 3 areas. The clubhouse lobby is about 1,500 square feet. Ballroom we have estimated at 6,300, and then about 7,500 square feet behind me in the bar area, the lounge, the formal dining areas. We also have new patio furniture as part of this. That's also in our reserve study. But again, I'm going to highlight the clubhouse interiors of $4 million. $2 million is expected to be replaced over the next 5 years. So rather than piecing it together, we're able to put this together as a project and then protect ourselves with the resources in the kitchen so we can deliver the experience that you expect. green, white, and gold golf courses. Very, very preliminary review of pricing here. We've talked about $12 million allocated over the 3 golf courses. What Aaron, Kyle, Drew, and Brad really are working on right now is evaluating these main cost components that I put here for you. The site preparation and earthwork. We've got different acreage on each of the golf courses. The more acreage, the more cost is going to be tied to that. The drainage, tee, green, bunker construction, grassing, irrigation, and landscape. Rock walls, cart paths, length bank construction, and contingency. And, Aaron, we heard a lot about cart paths, right? We don't want additional cart paths. And I know between you and Drew and everyone involved that you've touched on that and you've made some design changes. You want to give us a few comments on that and what has been incorporated?
Sure. Yeah, going back to the golf course master plan town hall meetings and the survey that followed, I think it was pretty evident that continuous concrete cart paths were not a desirable addition to the golf course master plan. So pretty much immediately following that, we went back to work with Drew and his associate Joel and really pretty much eliminated that concept altogether. We did still move forward with a lot of the realignment, looking at the position of them in relationship to how close they were to greens or proper side of the tee box, stuff like that. But as far as a continuous concrete hard surface, that's been eliminated and readjusted in the master plan moving forward. So it's not part of the scope of work any longer. Now, to make up for that, what do we look at? Increasing drainage. If we can improve the drainage on the golf course, there's more flexibility to get golf carts, my guys, through the property, especially, we're a month or so from rainy season starting, 50, 60 inches of rain every year. We're still out there working. So as part of the master plan, reevaluating the drainage and how much area that we were going to focus on drainage has definitely been adjusted, cart path, continuous, removed. So.
Thanks, Aaron. Appreciate it. Let's get into the survey 2 results summary. We cut this down to a 1-week opportunity for feedback just to make sure we had a timeline that could be remained in effect and have this meeting here today. So over that 1 week, we captured 650 responses. That was actually much better than the first week of the first survey. Represents 466 total memberships. We discussed the options. Option 2 was clearly the one that came through as the most desired at almost 55%. Touched on the assessment option. We did have 108 members that supported that. And their second choice, both in 1 and 2, both in 3 and 1, was option 2. Phasing and financing considerations. Here are key assumptions. We've talked about the asset reserve study. We have that in place. We know exactly what we need to spend on an annual basis to keep up the property. WCC Project 2020. The debt remains the same as is, the 3.09% with the swap agreement. Same loan terms, assessments. Sources of cash, we have 2 when it comes to capital improvements. Talked about annual capital dues and then ICAs from new members. Looking at our assumptions for ICA transactions, and this is really the only assumption that we really cannot control, right? It's driven by inventory and desire for the club. So desire for the club remains exceptionally strong. Our challenge is inventory. So looking at what's 27, what does that number mean? Well, you can see pre-pandemic, we're just talking about inside the gates because we no longer sell the non-resident golf memberships and won't for many, many years. The average is 33. Looking at 21, 22, we were hot. 55 inside the gates on average. So this year was expected to be a slower year. There's only so much you're going to turn over the course of the last 7 years. Right now, we're projecting 24 to 27. Bring those numbers out because I want to show that 27 assumption is very conservative. We're not swinging at our shoes and going off of the average 55 in the last 2 years. Option 2 components we've discussed. All construction begins in April, would finish in November. We start in 24 of April,
practice facilities and the activity center. Then we'd move to 25 of April, start the clubhouse renovation. The golf course master plan after that would begin in 27. What you're seeing here is capital cash account balances. Everybody remember the two sources of capital cash, right? The dues and the ICAs. That 6.6 is basically the last three or so years of new membership ICA fees. So if I tell you, here's the timeline of spend, $10.25 over April to November. We're going to go from 643 at the end of fiscal year 23. The end of 24 fiscal year, we're at 5.7. We spend the majority of that over the 24 fiscal year. The low point is 1.132 in 25. So here's the best part about option 2. It gives us the availability to manage our capital cash flow and stop if something happens with the assumptions. Does that make sense? So if we jump out and spend 10.25 and we miss in 24 with ICA fees, and let's say we have 0 incoming new members, we stop and we push it back. We don't come back to the members and say, well, we didn't get an ICA fee, so we're going to raise the capital dues to cover. That's not the plan. And that would never be acceptable. So we've spread it out over the course of April to 24 of November, April 25 to November of 25. And as we get to the green course, you see the upward trend. We come back stronger on the capital side. Timeline and next steps as we look forward based on option 2. Conceptual design will continue April up and through the summer months into November. We'll come back with rendering development, preliminary facilities master plan, as well as updated budgets and a town hall setting same as this in either November or December. We'll continue to solicit membership feedback. This plan will continue, has always been, and will be driven to the end by membership feedback. We'll get into schematic and design development December, January, February. At the completion of design development, we come back in March, another town hall meeting with the membership, make sure we're all in line on what we're doing moving forward. Now this is just for the activity center and the golf learning center components that we've talked about. We'll follow the same process as far as conceptual design, schematic, design development, and construction for the clubhouse and golf course improvements. Updates will be provided to the membership, presentations will be provided, schemes for the interior especially are going to be important with the new clubhouse refresh. Those will be provided, and we'll continue to get that feedback up until we go and break ground with the shovel. So phase 2 construction of the activity center and golf learning center begins in April of 24. Phase 2 construction, clubhouse kitchen renovation, 25 of April through November of 2025. The reason for that is we only have an opportunity to do this off season to create the least amount of interruption to the membership as a whole. And then phase 3 construction, get in the green golf course, April of 2027. Now this is where we're at today. If we go on a hot streak again and all of a sudden all this inventory comes up, then we got to come back and say, okay, do you want to push the golf course up? Yes or no? So we don't have to determine that today. I'm just telling you, if we're going to manage the cash. We're going to manage the cash, and we're going to give you options. Or we're going to tell you we got to pull back because the cash isn't there based on assumptions. I close with this because this is clearly what drives decision making. And based on this, that's how we're at where we're at today. Our vision and our mission. Without the vision and the mission, we don't have clear direction as a club. We have a great opportunity to put forth a tremendous strategic plan for the next 5 years that will ensure that we remain and continue to be successful at this wonderful Wyndemere Country Club. Thank you all who are in attendance today. Really appreciate it.
I've worked with Ryan for 3 years intensively, and I can say he is data-driven. Nothing happens without feedback from the membership. So I have great confidence in his planning and the planning of everybody that we've worked together, that this is a workable plan for us. So we had solicited questions, and so Ryan is going to answer the questions, and I'll ask them. So this is from Bonnie Butera. Last month, she attended a presentation of the proposed change to the golf course, which included a specific timeline. The presentation was well received and everyone was enthusiastic. There was no hint that this wasn't a done deal. Now this project is no longer a priority. What happened?
So we clarified this in the presentation. The two drivers are phase 1 and 2 of the original Project 2020, as well as the golf course master plan. We started with the golf course master plan, very supportive. We fixed the cart path concern, and then we factored in all components of Project 2020, which got us to the 3 options where option 2 has prevailed. So that's been the deciding factor on how we're at today.
This is a question from Stephen Shangold. The result of the
What's that?
survey.
No, that was just one component of the planning process. And we've talked about incorporating that with phase 2 and 3 of the original Project 2020 from the beginning. We got to have the golf course master plan desires, and you've got to measure them with the other desires for the campus. No, that's not. I'll explain more offline, Mrs. Butera.
Next question from Stephen Shangold. The results of the survey, read the proposed golf course changes, showed, via statistics and comments, strong concern for concrete cart paths. Can that portion of the plan be reconsidered and adjusted?
I think we covered that one, right, Ms.
That one?
Shangold?
Yes.
Thank you.
Larry Bates, some secondary elements of the plan, perhaps like the par 3 course that may not have wide support, be dropped?
I think we covered that one as well. It's just an additional sometime benefit.
Denise Howe.
I'm sorry, you need more on the par 3 course? Okay, let's talk about the par 3 course again that's not there.
It's not a par 3 golf course, okay? It's not 9 more holes. There's already 9 target greens out there on the driving range. They are all going to be looked at to be positioned so that you can see them both on the front range and the back range. Aaron cuts them 3 times a week. There is nothing cost-wise or headache-wise that is going to be incurred on him or you, the membership. Nothing will be taken away. The par 3 golf course on the middle is not a par 3 golf course. It's a social area where we're going to run around with 2 or 3 clubs. Anybody have any specific questions about what is actually wrong with an opportunity out there on that 5 acres? No, there's not going to be any permanent lighting that will be put in place. No incurred cost for that. If we do run an event out there, we can bring in lights. We bring in lights for a lot of things. They come wheeled in, we put them up, generator, boom, there they are, taken down. Next day, taken back.
Any other questions on the par 3 course that's not going to exist? Get by this one. I got to get by this one.
Next question from Denise Howe. What exactly will form the basis of an indoor golf teaching facility? How much will it cost, and can we have a member vote on this item?
So we talked about the scope of that. As far as voting on that item specifically, Ray, I mean, this is not a new concept, correct? Golf Learning Center. We've got 7 locally that are here in Naples, Florida. It's going to be a point where it's not a matter of if, but when. And if we're going to do the short game improvements, we need to be strategic with mobilization. We're going to be in this area. The time is now to do that project. Rather than come back in here like we've done historically, continue to add things reactively. That's why it was part of the options too and put together with the short game improvements. Hold on, we got to go through the ones that were submitted first.
This is a question from Ellen Stork. Ellen writes well. Option 2. Please explain why this option moved clubhouse ahead of the golf course work.
Option 2 was one of 3 that had different ways of either including the clubhouse or not. It was based on membership desires, and through the feedback, the membership has spoken that that's an important element.
2, could the clubhouse work be moved to the end instead of the golf course? And will membership have an opportunity to vote on the order and timing of these?
You could move it to the end. I wouldn't recommend it based on what we've discussed today. This is an aging asset. We're going to spend money either way just to update it. I would suggest moving forward as described with the $6 million allocation. As far as the order and timing of these, that's why we measured the general desires of the membership via options so that we can continue through the conceptual planning and move forward into next fiscal year.
3, golf learning simulator. Any information available on the cost of this individual amenity, separate from overall practice range updates? Actually, we've done that.
Talk that.
Is this survey result on percentage membership that anticipates using this amenity or its desirability?
We have never measured that. I'd say it's going to be a good majority of members that'll use this once they see the technology that's available for golf.
I'll sign up. I need the help.
We don't think you're going to, hey Rich, do you want to talk about the Golf Learning Center experience that you had? Well, let's
Patty says,
focus on facts.
don't ever give this guy a microphone. There's a club, there's at least 7 of these facilities here in Naples. I went over to one of them in January, and it was one of the most interesting and beneficial experiences to me ever in my golf career of 60 years. There's a fitter there. You stand on the tee. The range is out there. You're in a garage, basically. You hit the ball. Up on the screen comes the picture of your swing. It comes every TrackMan statistic you could think of to tell you how high, how far, what the spin rate was, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the fitter says, oh, you didn't like the Callaway? Here's the Titleist. Oh, you don't like the Titleist? Here's an Exio. Oh, you don't like that? Try this one. 1 hour later, I had a whole new set of clubs. Except for a driver, which he said I didn't need. Saved me $500. These are wonderful facilities. You won't believe the technology that is in these things. It's really cool.
Thanks, Rich.
Thanks, Rich. Michael Ducro, did the board consider reducing the annual capital expenses membership fees to members and offering that as an option for voting by members?
Mr. Lapidus, do you want to comment on that at the board level? Reduce capital fees.
No. You know, the dues is the dues. The dues has an operating part, the dues has a capital part. The whole dues process starts, and I can't even believe I'm saying this, like next month. Yes. To roll through July and September and get it out to you folks. It's not something we've ever considered. I wouldn't suggest we consider it. It is just part of our dues process. And as Ryan said, that part of the process goes to fund, you know, the current facilities, and we need to continue to keep that in there. It's just a normal process that us or any other company uses.
2, when offering votes on expenditures, why does the board not inform members of the cost breakdowns of individual projects and also the projected increased annual costs of the projects with regard to increased or decreased staffing costs and property taxes?
So I think it's a good question. I'd go back to where we're at in the conceptual phase of the analysis. You know, we've got to solidify that program, and I've got to come back and say, hey, this is what we're going to do, and this is what it's going to cost. Kyle, you touched on the staffing requirements as part of the Golf Learning Center. I see that as a break-even opportunity once it gets up and running. Property taxes, I can't give you that now, but something we'll have to factor in. Depreciation of assets, that'll be a big part of it because that goes into the capital funding model. You talk about the new bar service. I always feel bad because we're sending an employee over there that sets up for 2 hours inside and wheels the bar out, and then we wheel it back in. So probably a break even there. The only way we would add staff is if member utilization said that we needed to do that. So as we get into next fall, November, you'll start to see more details on the costs associated with these projects.
The General Inquirer, the clubhouse will be torn down for a complete rebuild in 6 years. Says who? As of when? And if that is true, or might be, why is there an option about a renovation?
That's a different strategic planning committee because it's not this one.
There are no plans for this facility to be torn down in 6 years. I mean, you're talking 45,000 square feet, and let's just throw $1,000 a square feet. That funding is way more than what we can take on right now, nor would I recommend it. So that's why we came up with what you saw in the clubhouse to bridge the gap to get us to 33 when we'll be debt-free off of this project that we just finished. And then we start evaluating through the same process. What do you want to do with the clubhouse, if anything? One area we've got to tackle, and if I don't say it, the ladies will tell me, the ladies' locker room. We've got to upgrade the ladies' locker room.
Yes,
So I'm working
the
on
dungeon.
working on how do we incorporate that through general asset replacement over the near future versus the far future, because that's definitely a need for the ladies.
I
And
agree.
a bar.
Robert Simpson, why have not the option of delaying the clubhouse renovation until after the golf course renovation is completed, which should also not need an assessment as an option?
We answered that one, I
We've
believe.
answered that. The addition of the clubhouse as a last-minute choice should have been a separate vote as to whether or not we agreed to an assessment to do it.
I think you could have cut this up 100 different ways. We felt what we did was right at the strategic planning committee on how we put forward the three options for you.
Peter Justinius, if option 2 prevails, why is it that the activities project is put ahead of the club renovation? The clubhouse renovations will affect all members versus those few that use that are activity participants. And actually, I just can say that as the golf, you'll see, it's like a halfway house on a golf course. As the golfers drive by and they want to go to the bathroom, or they want to buy a hot dog, or they want to get a drink, or after golf, they'll stop there instead of going over into the tiebreaker. I mean, most golf courses have a halfway house, and this is, in sense, what a halfway house is. Go ahead, Ron.
So what I would tell you is that we need the next 2 years to figure out the clubhouse portion of the renovation to do it right. If we tried to pull this off and move it ahead of the activities center, we'd be rushing it. There's no way I could pull this kitchen design together in a year and be ready to go to construction. I mean, Don, I don't even think we could get the materials that quickly, correct? Sure. Yes. Did I look at it? No. Do I think it would work? Not without looking further into that. I mean, the bar view is this way. The bar view is this way over the golf course. Okay. You and I should talk offline then rather than...
The only thing, Sandra, I can say is that, you know, everything that we have done, we've planned and looked at pretty much everything, so that nothing is going to happen until we make determination further with evaluations.
Next one.
Michael Malone, are there drawings and plan for all the proposed new works?
We've answered that. They'll be coming in the fall, into the winter.
Where are the new pickleball and croquet courts going?
You'll see that as part of the site plan once it's done over the course of the next couple months.
What's this we hear about a nighttime executive course?
We're
We've
done
answered
with that one.
Why spend more money on the greens? They seem amazing to me.
No comment. Let's keep going.
Gary Moss, given the increased participation and demand, can we start the work on the additional pickleball and bocce courts in May 2023 versus April 24?
No, there's a whole process before you even get to the point of putting the actual material down for the pickleball courts. If we started today, we wouldn't be able to do it until at least 1 year, and that would go against what we've talked about as far as evaluating that area as a whole and addressing every membership's desires for each sport that's over there.
Given the home business design talent we have amongst several Wyndemere members, can we form a subcommittee of these members rather than spend money on an outside decorator to spice up the clubhouse?
There's different opinions in here.
Charles Stadaker. Regarding revenue assumptions, Wyndemere has had a remarkable last 5 years in home sales. Older residents have given way to younger members coming in, whereas availability of homes for sale in the past 5 years averaged between 20 to 30 per month. They now seem to average less than 5 per month. In your capital revenue assumptions, how many sales do you project each year? And of that, how many generate 125,000?
What's the answer to that?
Right.
27. Good.
27 is the number. If you fall short, does construction on the 3-9 stop until funding is available? Yes. Or will you continue renovating one per year by increasing capital dues to members? No. You guys are getting good. You could take over the strategic planning committee.
We're listening. I love it.
This is from Beth Stewart. Why is the club moving forward with the activities pavilion, including the new bocce court and full croquet pitch, when less than half the membership agreed that bocce, 47%, and croquet, 40% upgrades were necessary? When the men's locker room bar is 50 steps away, when bathrooms are close by, and when staffing additional bar facilities may be challenging. All I can tell you is I had to run from the croquet court today to the ladies' bathroom and almost didn't make it. Sorry. Must be my age.
Okay. I would just say, we've talked about master planning of that area and addressing every need and making sure we have that in place. The other problem is Isham. Every sport that we hand over to Isham grows in participation. And that's 100% correct. So just hope it's enough for you, Isham.
You also said that the staffing for the bar was not going to be significantly different from what you already did.
Exactly. We're pretty much doing it now. Instead of 2 hours of actual setup and rolling, maybe we could get over there in an hour and set up the bar and serve. And then if there's demand for service, we add another bartender because the revenue's there. Yeah.
John Thomas, why are we proceeding to add amenities when the number 1 and 2 items by a significant amount are currently tabled in favor of amenities farther down the list, and fewer than 50% of the members use or wanted them? The money is the members' money, not the board's, to spend at their pleasure and not overwhelmingly desired by the membership.
I believe that goes back to the graft of the croquet and the bocce, and we've talked about master planning for that area of amenities. And I'll tell you 100%, the board realizes that they are 9 members of the board, 9 members of the committee, and everybody has an equal vote on how we spend money moving forward. They haven't even been involved in this process other than a general update of where the planning committee's at. They haven't adopted the plan yet because they said, look, we want to hear from the membership. We want to be at the town hall meeting. So I think it's clear that they know that they're on equal level playing field with every other club member here.
Mia Stone, the forced ranking of choices between 3 alternatives for going forward for the next 5 years did not address the financial side of the choices, except for the minor renovation of the clubhouse. WCC is a golf club. Our course needs maintenance, and all the new buyers of homes here are golfers. We have a golf waiting list, not a croquet waiting list. Golfers are the major support of this club, and will be the ones from a percentage aspect who will support the ongoing maintenance of the new facilities that you are forcing upon us for years before the golf course gets the major renovation work that it needs. 1, why can't you present a list of each of the renovations, new building, and what each would cost to the members for a vote?
I think that would go against all the work that's been done from the master planning perspective, from working with the best firm in the country. Offering a menu of choices is a bad idea, because we'll go back in and we'll mobilize, and then we'll come back again and realize we need to do that, because we'll try and chip away at these projects. You've got to have vision when you do strategic planning. This isn't a menu of options. This is a vision of the direction of the club moving forward, whether it's the activity center, the golf learning center, the golf practice facilities, the golf course itself, or this clubhouse. I don't support a menu of choices. I think that is a strategic mistake. Potentially, we're going to cost us more money in the future because we wouldn't do it right.
Yeah. I'm going to avoid question number 2. And why can't you include in that cost what will be the ongoing cost, including depreciation and staffing of each of these items, and what it will do to ongoing dues increases rather than hiding behind no assessment?
The one at the end kind of stung, hiding behind no assessment. Personally, I think we're pretty darn transparent. I would say with the communications from the board, myself, and letting you know exactly where you're at. I'll put myself up out here for as many hours to answer questions. I'll give you the answers if I have them, and I'll tell you if I don't. Determining depreciation at the conceptual design phase is unheard of. They're all estimates based on assets that we haven't acquired. We're not going to talk about depreciation. The staffing standpoint, we discussed some of the staffing components that will be part of option B. That's where we're at as of now. If that changes, we'll come back in November and continue to discuss that. How is it going to go to our ongoing dues increases? That process is done in detail at length, and I'd put our process up against any club in the country when it comes to details for annual capital and operating dues. That is then going to be presented and distributed as where we're going to go in the direction for the next fiscal year, and we'll continue that process. That dues process is looked at length by the members of the Finance Committee. Then it's got to go to the Board of Directors. Everyone involved in supporting the dues increase is a member of this club. It's not driven by what Ryan thinks we should charge. It's driven by what is it going to cost to deliver the experience and exceed the member expectation that we have here at Wyndemere.
And that's it.
A few claps.
Do you wish to take questions from the floor?
Go ahead, Mr. Lapidus.
So we have, all right, you have a, go ahead. Let me just come with the microphone because we can't hear you. Oh, you can do. Yeah.
I would like to use the podium, please. May I use that?
Sorry, we're not accepting anybody at the podium.
Okay, let me just see here. He knows, he said no. She said no. Okay, that is fine. My name is Beth Eberhard. My husband Dave and I have been 20-year residents of Wyndemere. We live in Water Oaks, and I am here today to present some petitions and a letter from approximately 250 members of Wyndemere. I thank you for staying, those of you who have, and this is very short. Thank you, Strategic Planning Committee, and I mean that, and all of us mean that, because we know what the kind of work that you have put in and so forth, as well as Wyndemere management and the entire board. We appreciate your hard work and for striving to make Wyndemere a positive member experience. Oh, as I mentioned, over 250 members feel that Wyndemere management and the Wyndemere board have not heard nor appreciated the full views of the membership with regard to future projects and proposed club changes. The board is asked to disregard the recent flawed survey and gather additional information and input from the membership regarding future projects. The board is also asked to continue to provide consultation with the membership, including a much fuller analysis regarding the cost, benefit of the suggested projects in the strategic plan. I think we all learned a lot today, and that is much appreciated, but we need more information as we go forward. Please review the petition letters signed by over 250 Wyndemere members. 21 of these signatures reflect a single household with 2 votes. It should be noted that the letter was not widely distributed and signatures were collected only over a few days. So the opinions that are expressed are likely shared by a significantly larger number of Wyndemere members. Therefore, the board has good reason to carefully consider these requests. Thank you very much, concerned members.
Can I have it? Well, this is a surprise. Hold on. So I guarantee you the board will look at this, the Strategic Committee, Planning Committee will look at it and review it. It's only fair. I think I disagree that it wasn't widely circulated, because I saw it. Everybody I know saw it. So I think it probably was more widely distributed than you may think. But I guarantee you we will take a look at it. Oh, we can go for more questions. Steph, you got that microphone?
Here, I have here.
All right, here, and then we'll come up front.
I just have a question regarding, Ryan, you said that there's 7 of the golf learning facilities in the Naples community, Naples area. Are any of it private golf clubs? Or at any of them at private clubs?
Yeah, absolutely.
There are?
Yeah.
How many? And which ones?
What is it? Mediterra, Gray Oaks, Bonita Bay, Pelican Bay, Twin Eagles, Bay Colony is up for a vote.
They have golf
Royal-
learning, like we're proposing?
West, Royal Poinciana, yeah. Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
If I may, I'll
Hello, okay.
I'm sorry, just to that question, an outside perspective, golf technology, golf learning centers are probably, and Frank would attest to this, probably one of the most significant trends in private clubs, adding them right now.
One of the other things that I would like to just say is that there are other facilities like that are within the Naples community, which I think as many of us are Naples residents, that we need to support our Naples community also. And there are facilities out there. Right, what's wrong with, what happens if we don't support the Naples people? What, if they're part of the clubs, we can't go?
Okay,
No,
Steph,
I'm not
next.
saying as a private club, I'm saying like the golf gal or golf tech or all those different places.
Yeah, we understand. Thank you for the question. I think it's a good question and comment. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, first of all, I did not see this letter or petition, so I don't know how wide it was. But my question is this: why can't we do the clubhouse first? It has been awful ever since the first day that we did it. It's brown, the furniture is uncomfortable, it's horrible. We need to do the clubhouse badly.
I don't disagree with anything you said. I think we need 2 seasons to figure it out and do it right, rather than rush. Any other questions? Motion to adjourn. Oh, one more.
Excuse me?
Sure. The golf learning center, yes. Even better. Yeah. Yeah. Is the golf learning center going to be similar to one of the PGA store? Even better. Yeah, there's going to be a charge to use the technology, yeah. Self-supporting is the goal, yes. And that's what we've seen with studying other clubs and their initial results. One sec, I'll come to you next. Go ahead.
When are the options going to be chosen? Which option you choose? When will we know that?
We need to go to the board meeting in April, discuss the feedback here as well as the options that have been presented by the Strategic Planning Committee, and then they have to adopt the plan and move forward and communicate to the membership.
And of course, then the schematic for, say, the amenity center.
Sure.
You're thinking a couple of months, or when do you
November,
expect that?
November, we'll be able to give you a
Not
better
until
schematic.
November.
Well, it's just kind of, when everyone's here, we're able to gather in this kind of forum and go through these details, yes.
Okay.
Am I correct in that it seems to me that some of the things that people want to know, like the specifics and the costs and stuff, are part of the process. You're just not at that step yet. So, okay, that's correct? Okay.
Yeah, and we've done more in the last 6 months than most clubs do in 2 years of strategic planning, and that's because they've worked really hard. And now we'll get going into the details. Mr. Clay?
Hey, Ryan. I was in business for 47 years in the service industry, as you know. We've had several conversations about it together. I think you can have the greatest infrastructure in the world. You can have wonderful buildings and things. But given that tennis and golf generally rate higher in our year-end surveys, as you've seen, and food and beverage tends to rate a little lower, I don't think it has anything to do with efficiency in the kitchen, although it might. So I'm not talking about that. What do we do here? What are we doing to enhance the training of those individuals that are serving us and enhancing their ability to do their job well, which will also increase our retention? I've seen service lately and over this past season decline in the tiebreaker. Not by everyone. There are certain people in the tiebreaker that serve us that do a very nice job. There are several that fall on their face on a regular basis. And I don't see our management, and it's no discredit to them because they're pretty busy, but they're doing but not teaching. That's what I'm seeing. So do we have a plan in place to do a better job of that?
So again, Mr. Clay, good questions and comments. One thing I will say is I don't have the tenure that you have in your business, but I've got a lot of years and almost 20 years in this business, and I would challenge that the kitchen is efficient. That if there's anything I know on a good level, it's going to be food and beverage operations and efficiencies. With regard to food and beverage services, our goal this year, we made changes in the management team, and we measured it. Did we get better in comparison to last year? And 75% said we did. Are we where we need to be? No. And part of that is when I first got here 5 years ago, we were paying at the bottom of the market. And we've had to continue to push resources in because, as you know, without staff, qualified staff, you're only as good as your frontline staff that's serving the membership. And we've got to continue to put more resources into compensation and staff retention and recruitment to get that talent here. When we're competing against a Royal Poinciana that's paying $40 plus an hour for a server, and we're nowhere near that, but yet we're getting compared to that, is that fair? I can have the best game plan in America, but if I don't have the staff to do it, the talent, we're not going to be as good as we can be. So we got to push more resources in, and we focus on training. Training, and continue to push resources into the food and beverage area. It's always going to be the toughest, but there's no reason we can't be at that 85% range. I mean, that's the true goal for food and beverage. Nothing against golf, but everyone has a different preference in food and beverage, right? You like your steak one way, I like it another. It's tough. And we have a lot more opportunities to make a mistake in food and beverage than we do in those other departments. So training and resources will continue to push, and we'll continue to retain key employees and recruit even better ones to join the team. That's the plan. Yes.
Just the question was asked earlier about did you ever consider
Give him the mic, can't hear you.
The question was asked earlier, did you ever consider moving this out that way? Because it would be beautiful, and you'd have the infrastructure there to put the bathrooms and whatever it is down for the activity center. Just curious.
So the quick answer is no, that wasn't considered. The bar was always considered to be in the center of as an activities pavilion, so it could service all of the amenities in a closed space. And then, of course, bathroom by the bar. Yep. 10 minutes.
Ryan, I understand we're going to push the golf course renovation down the road a little bit, and that's fine. But as far as the condition of the golf course right now, do we have to wait another year or two before we can get the golf course in good shape? I mean, the greens are in bad shape, the fairways are not in good shape, the roughs are in very, very bad shape. And, the course has just gotten green in the last week or so, but it's still a long way from the conditions of the 4 or 5 courses right within 2 miles of here that I've played in the last month. We're the worst conditioned golf course of 5 of the courses that I've played. And I think that's a common feeling of many of the golfers here. Does anybody agree or no? Is the golf course in great shape?
It needs to be more green.
So the survey had it at like 94%, right? Overall satisfaction. So that's down from 98% last year. And what happened this year to the greens right before the survey? Human error with the fertilizer application. Here's what I can tell you. You've got the best superintendent in Southwest Florida, so you want to remember that. And if you don't agree with me, come talk to me about how many people have tried to pull them from us. And we've been fortunate to keep them. So, and he's going to be working his butt off as hard as he can to make sure he gets the golf course up to expectations. Will he meet your expectations? I don't know. But we also pushed 50,000 golf rounds through this place last year. And those same number of rounds, even though we've reduced the non-member related rounds, are here this year. So there's got to be some give and take on expectations for how many rounds we're going to do per year in that 6-month window, and how well are we going to be able to take care of the golf course. But he's got my full confidence. I'll stand behind him until the end.
For whatever this is worth, excuse me, in addition to doing what I do for clubs, I got the idea being involved in governance in my own club. So I was president of the club for 3 years, and I was on the board for 10. And to that question, which is it's a legitimate question, it's a legitimate personal observation, but I just recommend to the members here what I think is best for members in every club like this. That survey that we did was beyond statistically significant. Mike can cite the exact percentages, but you had 77% of the memberships respond. One of the things that happens in clubs, and I just caution people to try like heck, and I'm not saying that the question was legitimate, the question is legitimate. That's your observation. But when discussing satisfaction, use the survey that was done. That's the purpose of the survey. I'm sorry? You can't hear this? No, I'm not talking about option 1, 2, or 3 now. I'm talking about the satisfaction survey. The first survey that was digging into the satisfaction across all of the amenities. All of the members answered the questions. And everyone's going to have their own view. But the data-driven view isn't an individual view. It's the compilation of everyone's view through data. That's the whole point of doing these surveys. And so, I'm just asking or cautioning, when you're discussing it, everyone has their opinion, that's fair. But that I'd throw the survey, the important satisfaction matrix on the table and the tiebreaker, and everyone can use it when they're having these discussions.
I have a very important question. Everybody heard everything here. Is this a done deal, or after you do all your numbers and your plans, do we vote again?
No, there's no plan.
Are we already voted for that and that's it?
And
nobody knows?
First of all, we haven't had a vote. It was,
Okay,
it
that's
was
my
an
question to you.
aspirational survey.
That's my question to you, because everybody here is going, is that voted in? Is that the plan? I don't know.
So I
That's my
think if you
question
go back
you.
to the timeline and you see the process and the commitment to additional member engagement and feedback, we're still not committed to a shovel in the ground yet at this time.
Okay, thank you. Nice answer.
Ryan, I'm a relatively new member of Wyndemere, and I've kind of come into this process halfway through, but I'm just a little bit of reading the room this afternoon. I'm not sure that there's wholesale support and desire for the Golf Learning Center. And I'm wondering, I'm not questioning it myself, but I'm wondering what process did you go through in assessing member desire for such a facility? And I ask that in the context of, just looking at the demographics in the room. Most of the members here are seniors, and I'm not sure that they really want to spend a lot of time analyzing their game, breaking their games down. They're quite happy to use the practice facilities and an improved practice facility, but I wonder how much assessment of the members went into the decision to proceed, ideally, with a golf technical center.
First off, welcome to the club. We're glad you're part of the family. What I would say is, so that first survey that we pulled out, aspirations, we showed the golf course was 70.1 and the golf learning center improvements was 69.1. So we did measure that, as well as just the general study of club trends from across the country, and you see that we're up to 7 in the surrounding market. I mean, at some point, are we going to be the only club that doesn't realize that golf technology is a want and a need for today and the future? And I think it's an extremely wise investment, and it'll be heavily utilized based on our studies in the market. Okay, one more, we're going to go to dinner. Yes, Mr. Forbing. Okay.
Just one moment, please. Sorry. There we go. Here I am.
Thank you. Thank you. My understanding may be incorrect, but I was under the impression that options 1 and 2 were really part of Project 2020, which was already voted on, but Phase 2 and Phase 3 were going to be fluid based on evolution of the membership's desires. So although we haven't committed to a shovel in the ground for any particular aspect of it, it's my understanding that we have indeed already voted on it when we voted on Project 2020.
So that's not correct. Only Phase 1 was voted on because it was tied to an assessment for funding. We had a master plan and committed to coming back and looking at 2 and 3, and I'm glad that we did because it's changed, right? Yeah, good question. That's come up before. Okay, motion to adjourn. Thank you very much.
Good Pesach. Happy Passover.